Hello YouTube, this is going to be a video on a number of things, on feminist double standards and the hysteria around rape culture. It's going to be a video on, I don't know, Black Lives Matter. I think the hypocrisy around that, and on this case of a college student, I believe, I don't know his name, I don't know the exact case, but there's one that's in the news recently about this guy who supposedly had sex with an underage girl, or he himself, from what I understand, was a young man. I'm not sure his exact age. And it's just going to be a video on a lot of those things, on a number of things. It's going to be a video on all of those things, and it's largely going to be about, I think, the hypocrisy of and the contradictions within American culture, American politics, American views, worldview, American, just basically American rules, American double standards, American government, and it's going to be a video on promotion of largely individuality, individualism, and of the Crowleyan satanic ethic of if it harms none, do as I will. Here is basically what I'm saying. If you look at, for example, feminism. What is feminism? It is a worldview that is constructed around and in the name of equality for women. And here is the basic gist of it. It is, we can make both sexes equal. And this is a quote from The Amazing Atheist. I'm sure you know of him, very intelligent YouTuber. That he quotes this is paraphrasing him in his view of feminism. We can make both sexes equal by focusing solely on one of them. Now, while most feminists might reject that, that's totally true, and that's a bunch of horse shit. It makes little to no sense, this fucking ideology, the whole group and identity politics in America. And now you're starting to see that over in the right wing. You have Donald Trump rallies, and I'm not hating on Trump, by the way, but you have had Trump rallies where idiots would jump up and say white power. That's happened recently. There is obviously a small, but nonetheless is there, a small, somewhat hidden racial component to this, largely around illegal immigration. But it makes no sense to me why would you go through all these tunnels and jump through all these fucking hoops and do all these kinds of fucking ridiculous mental mind tricks to try to make everything about group politics when you can solve the same thing through fucking individuality. Okay, and just to give me an example, the feminists always talk about rape, and this is going to segue into the black issues. Feminists talk about rape. Well, first of all, this is another issue where if you had individuality, you realize it's not something inherent in the male psyche to rape. In fact, most people don't rape, but even the ones that do, those are a minority, and there's mainly groups of people that rape. One is sociopaths, two are people, I think, who have been conditioned to want sex. I think if you really wanted to stop rape, stop teaching men that their ability to be a man depends so much on whether or not they can have sex. But that's not the point. Just focus on individuality. But this is not about rape. But to make a point here, the majority of fucking people don't rape in this country. The majority of men don't rape. Rape is not this huge crime that they try to say it is. There are far less rapes in this country, from my understanding, than there are robbery and then there is murder. That means a woman by herself along the street is far more likely to be robbed or murdered by a man or whatever than she is to be raped. There's no need for this hysteria around rape. Everyone's trying to rape everyone. Now, on the other hand of that, where do most women that do get raped, many of those women get raped in poor, impoverished communities. Many of those are ghetto, many of those are black communities. Now, that's also very low. There's not a lot of that either, but there is more of it. Now, that has nothing to do with racial defects or something being wrong with black people. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with these poor, beaten down people, largely, who have lived their entire lives in fear and in absolute human suffering. They've lived this way. And I am not one to reject or deny that it is hard on black people in this country to live in this fucking place for a lot of black people. There are a lot of neighborhoods where, you know, you can't just call the cops like you can in another neighborhood. Someone fucks with you, they go and knock on your door or something, you shoot first and, you know, see what happens. You don't fucking, you know, call the cops. They're liable to show up and arrest you. But here's my problem with that. You treat it as, and you look at it as largely a racial issue. It's not a fucking racial issue, because you have, maybe not quite that bad, maybe not as much of it, you have plenty of fucking white people, what you call rednecks, different groups, living in this country in poverty, who are poor, who live off many of the same economic safety nets, who without those, many of them would cease to exist. They have their own problems. You have millions of fucking people in this country, black, white, whatever, in prison. You have problems. But why treat that as a group issue? Why treat that as identity politics when you can simply treat it as an economic issue? When you want to help black people, here's how you do it. And, you know, why is you bring the jobs back. You at least on some level immigrate. You at least on some level regulate immigration so that you're not being swarmed by people in the way that we are now. And you raise the minimum wage. You raise the minimum wage, and that's going to help black people, and it's going to help anyone else that's poor in this country. And on top of that, you obviously regulate the police. You regulate police abuse, which is a huge issue in this country. And you stop the police abuse of anyone. Not just black people. Look at someone like Kelly Thomas. Look at other white people who have been abused, beaten down by corrupt police officers. We need to raise the standards of who can become cops. We need to raise the standards of who can become cops. We need to look for the brightest, best individuals, and not just any fucking, you know, shit-kicking redneck who wants to fucking, who wants a quick job and a quick buck and someone to beat up. You know, we need to redo the entire thing, but we need to look at people as individuals. It doesn't have to be, you're a man and I'm a woman, this is a black person, this is a white person. Look at people as fucking individuals. That's all you have to do. P6666.